in a process and how many instructions are already executed. जो पहले टर्म उसका टर्न आया था, at that time 30 instructions are already executed. Now it has to start from the instruction number 13 number 31. समझ में आ रहा है? So which instruction, how it will know that it has to start from the instruction number 31 from the program counter. Yesterday we have discussed program counter will point to the instruction which will be going to be executed next. तो अभी नेक्स्ट कौन सी इंस्ट्रक्शन एग्जीक्यूट होने वाली है? 31st. व्हाई? बिकॉज इंस्ट्रक्शन नंबर 1 to 30 वी हैव ऑलरेडी एग्जीक्यूटेड. सो अल्टीमेटली process control box will guide to the it will guide to the operating system about the total information of the process. Which type of information? How many instructions in the process? What is the process ID? In operating system, every process is identified by using the process ID. What is the process ID? How many instructions are there? What is the status of the process? Whether it will be in a ready state, IO state, in a waiting state or terminated state. So just based on the state, again, how much work is already completed? Means 30 instructions are executed. How many new instructions? How many work is again left to do? How many instructions are going to be executed next? Again, what is the program counter? Where is the program counter? From where it has to start to executing the instruction for this process from further. Again, what is the memory? Which are the different variables used by that particular process? Okay, if you remember, in database you already learned the transaction log of the transaction, log based recovery. So which type of information was stored in transaction log? ट्रांजेक्शन की लॉग फाइल में क्या क्या इंफॉर्मेशन रहती थी? किसी को पता है? इफ यू रिमेंबर DBMS, which type of information stored in transaction log? Anyone? नहीं पता? No one. ये तो वही हुआ, कल जाके मैं आपको वही क्वेश्चन करूंगा, विच टाइप ऑफ इंफॉर्मेशन स्टोर्ड इन PCB, तो भी आप ऐसे ही बैठे रहोगे. Are you learning or not? That is the first question. Or just attending? ट्रांजेक्शन लॉग में क्या क्या इंफॉर्मेशन रहती है? स्टिल यू कैन सर्च ऑन इंटरनेट. आपके पास कंप्यूटर है, ब्राउजर ओपन करके लिखोगे तो भी आंसर मिल जाएगा. दिस इज नॉट द फिजिकल क्लास.
तुक्का मारो सर, एक लाइक तुक्का में सर थोड़ा याद है वो बोल सकता हूँ.
हाँ, तो मैंने कहा बोला कि आपका इंटरव्यू है और आपको कंप्लीट आंसर ही देना.
तो सर वो हाँ सर, जो जो पास ट्रांजेक्शन होता है सर उसका रिकॉर्ड होता है, फिर वो सर ट्रांजेक्शन फेल हुई या सक्सेस हुई वो सब.
ओके.
और जो पास के जो ट्रांजेक्शन किए हमने, जो मतलब जो किया पास में, उसका सर रिकॉर्ड होता है.
ओके. See, transaction log means log of the transaction. Every transaction has its own log. Okay, there is a log file, very huge log file in a database. That database has to maintain. Why? Because it has to record the status information of the every transaction. Which type of information? What is the transaction ID? Who is the owner of the transaction? ये ट्रांजेक्शन किसने स्टार्ट किया है? If you are login with the Scott or HR or admin, whatever. Okay, if you are the Gmail user, then you have started your transaction, so your Gmail ID will be identity of your transaction. That means who is the owner of the transaction, the timestamp information, when that transaction was started, कब चालू हुआ था. Okay, again, how many statements or how many operations you have to perform within the transaction. If it is a ATM operation, to withdraw money from ATM, then there are more than 15 to 20 operations are there. Once these 15 to 20 operations are completed, then and then your transaction will be completed. So how many instructions in your transaction? Again, how many instructions are already executed and how many remaining for the execution? Which type of locks are acquired by the transaction, shared lock and exclusive lock? कितने सारे लॉक ये ट्रांजेक्शन ने पकड़ के रखे हैं, हाउ मेनी न्यू लॉक इट हैज टू रिक्वायर्ड, अभी कितने नए लॉक उसको चाहिए एग्जीक्यूट करने के लिए, व्हाट इज द स्टेटस ऑफ द ट्रांजेक्शन, वेदर ट्रांजेक्शन विल बी इन कौन से स्टेट में है, इट मे बी इन रेडी स्टेट, न्यू स्टेट, partially committed state or a committed state, yes or no. So this type of information is stored in a transaction log for every transaction. If you have 100 transaction, then every transaction has its own information. Same thing is here. For every process in database, transaction has a transaction log. Same thing in operating system, process has its own PCB. ये टर्मिनोलॉजी अलग है, प्रैक्टिकली दोनों का यूज तो एक ही हुआ. दैट लॉग स्टोर द इंफॉर्मेशन अबाउट ट्रांजेक्शन, पीसीबी स्टोर द इंफॉर्मेशन अबाउट द प्रोसेस. व्हाट इज द स्टेटस ऑफ द प्रोसेस. यस
सर, जो लॉग का सर जो हमें सर हम जो लॉग देखते हैं वो सर वो जाके सर वही लॉग की बात कर रहे हैं ना. हम जो लॉग देखते हैं पीसी में जाके कहाँ पे एरर हुई है नहीं हुई वो चेक करने के लिए, डायग्नोस्टिक करने के लिए.
वो हाँ वो ओएस के लॉग है ना, आप
हाँ
ओएस के लॉग देख सकते हो.
हाँ.
डेटाबेस के अंदर भी अगर आपको ट्रांजेक्शन के लॉग देखने हैं तो आप देख सकते हो. उसमें एक डेटा डिक्शनरी है इन ओरेकल, $v $log करके आप देख सकते हो. यू कैन पुट, से पहले तो उसको डिस्क्राइब करो, डिस्क्राइब
आपके
$log.
स्क्रीन शेयर नहीं है.
ओके यस. Fine.
Yes.
So you can see $log is a one of the data dictionary. Now I am not asking what is data dictionary, but let us assume that that is a data dictionary, $log, and I do not know which are the columns in this $log, so I can use the describe command. डिस्क्राइब एम्प्लॉय, डिस्क्राइब टेबल्स, वो सब करते थे ना, इस तरीके से आप इसको भी कर सकते हो $log. So you can try it which type of information is here. So this is a log file. This log file can store the information of the transaction logs. ये आपका अगर ओरेकल इंस्टॉल है तो आप कर सकते हो. ओके उसमें कुछ कॉलम भी होगी. इफ यू डू नॉट नो एनीथिंग देन यू कैन ऑल्सो राइट लाइक दिस, सिलेक्ट स्टार फ्रॉम $log, लेकिन इसमें बहुत सारी इंफॉर्मेशन आएगी, आपको कुछ समझ में नहीं आएगा क्या है. सो इंस्टेड ऑफ द स्टार जस्ट राइट द फ्यू कॉलम्स, जो जो कॉलम आपको चाहिए. सपोज ट्रांजेक्शन आईडी, ट्रांजेक्शन स्टेटस, देखो इसमें क्या है, किस टाइप की कॉलम है इसमें, $log. यस द स्टेटस.
सर मैंने किया अभी वो एसक्यूएल में जाके सर नो सर एरर आ रहा है.
नहीं, यू हैव टू लॉग इन विद एडमिन, यू कैन नॉट लॉग इन विद स्कॉट एंड टाइगर.
अच्छा मैं स्पॉट से हुआ वो.
हाँ आपको एडमिन में लॉग इन करना पड़ेगा. सो यू कैन यूज यस सीक्वेंस नंबर, मेंबर्स, आर्काइव, स्टेटस, बाइट्स, which log group is there. There are 3 log groups are there in database. So this is just for your exam, for your knowledge. So through $log you can check the log record of the transaction. Same way in your operating system there is a log file is maintaining. आपके ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम में भी एक लॉग फाइल मेंटेन होती है, बट दैट इज डिफरेंट थिंग. सी लॉग फाइल इज डिफरेंट थिंग इन ऑपरेटिंग सिस्टम. पीसीबी यू कैन नॉट चेक, आप पीसीबी देख नहीं सकते हो, प्रैक्टिकली नहीं देख सकते. आई डोंट नो इन लिनक्स यू मे बी able by using some kernel mode, if you have a privilege mode available, and if you log in with the privilege mode, and if you have some knowledge how to check it, then you can check the PCB of the any particular process in Linux. But in Windows it is not possible. Windows is not allowing you how to check the process status information.
सर आ गया वो DSAV log करके ग्रुप आया, थ्रेड आया, सीक्वेंस, बाइट्स. हाँ यस सर, जस्ट
स्क्रीन शेयर करो ताकि बाकी सब लोग देखें. क्योंकि हमारे सारे दोस्त तो मोबाइल लेके अटेंड कर रहे हैं, तो उनके पास तो ऐसी सिस्टम होगी नहीं.
हाँ सब इजी पर.
Yes, see, Arsil has executed one command, $log describe. So these are the columns of this log file. So instead of star, you can write select status, then block size, bytes, first change, first
सर
time
ये
from
थ्रेड
video.
में हमारे प्रोसेसर के जो थ्रेड होते हैं वो वाले थ्रेड प्रोसेसर के थ्रेड होते हैं?
नहीं नहीं, ऐसा नहीं है, वो अलग है।
अच्छा,
ये
वो नहीं था।
सॉफ्टवेयर थ्रेड है।
और
थ्रेड
जावा
भी
वाले?
आएगा हम।
जावा वाला
यस,
थ्रेड?
जावा, जावा वाले थ्रेड, यस।
ओके।
After completion of this process information, we will switch to the thread. Thread is also part of your syllabus, not in much detail programming point of view, but theoretically some information is available about thread. Thread is also one type of process, but it is lightweight process, you can say.
तो अभी स्टॉप कर दूं?
हाँ, बंद करो। Okay, so ultimately PCB stores these many instruction. Process state means process is in which state: running state, wait state, ready state, terminated state, whatever. Program counter, why? Because operating system have to decide that from where it has to start for execution further. Initially PCB will point to the first instruction. If your process is executed for some time, and then it will be switched from that process to other process, and after some time that process will be taken back for the execution. At that time the location of the program counter is required. CPU registers, if there are some mathematical operation happen previously for this process, then each and every variable, each and every register information is required for that particular process. CPU scheduling information means how the sequence of execution of the process will be decided by the operating system, in which manner, in a first come first serve basis, in some priority basis, with some time slice based measure. We will learn these different techniques. Still we have not discussed how the operating system will select next process for execution. सीक्वेंस में जा रहा है 1 2 3 4 5 अप टू 10, अगेन 1 2 3 अप टू 10, क्या यही होना है, or you have some another techniques? So there are a lot of algorithms for there. You have 5 to 7 different algorithms for the CPU scheduling information. CPU scheduling means what? How the CPU will select next process for the execution. After executing that process, what will be the next process for the execution and which manner? Based on which technique CPU will select the process. Memory management information. How much memory is allocated to this process? रैम में उसने कितना पोर्शन लिया हुआ है, what is the temporary location. Even apart from the RAM, some information about this process is also available in virtual memory. अगर process बहुत बड़ी है and we are not able to load the entire process into memory because memory size is limited, so at that time your some information is available in RAM and some information is available in virtual memory. So what is the memory information, which information is already available in RAM and which information available in a virtual memory, that is also important. Accounting information, CPU use, how much CPU this process is using. Clock time, definitely. elapsed time start means ये प्रोसेस कब स्टार्ट हुई थी, 10:01 पे, अभी क्या हुआ है 10:03 हुई है, दैट मीन्स दिस प्रोसेस इज 2 minutes ओल्डर. Still it has 30% completed, 70% still the execution of this process is required. So these are the some examples that for each and every process operating system has to manage these many instructions. And because of that, once the process is switched from process 1 to 2, this PCB is required, क्योंकि उसको एग्जीक्यूशन स्टार्ट करने से पहले ये चेक करना पड़ेगा ये प्रोसेस का स्टेटस क्या है. वंस द स्टेटस इज आइडेंटिफाइड, देन सीपीयू विल बी एग्जीक्यूटिंग फर्दर. सो 30 से लेके मानो कि 70 तक इंस्ट्रक्शन एग्जीक्यूट हो जाएगी. अगेन दैट प्रोसेस विल बी स्विच फ्रॉम दैट प्रोसेस टू अनदर प्रोसेस. जब फिर से उसका टर्न आएगा, अगेन थर्ड टाइम इट विल बी टेकन. नाउ इट मे बी पॉसिबल दैट फ्रॉम 71 to 100 all 100 instructions are executed, process is over, and it will be removed from the process. So instead of 10, now you have only 9 process. After some time you have 5 process. After some time you have only 2 process. It depends. So in this way, the CPU is executing the processes simultaneously, and because of the processes are executing simultaneously, then CPU operating system has to select the one of the process for execution. So at that time PCB is used to find the status of the process. See, this is thread जो अभी आपने बात किया. Just now we have only information about the thread, but you have a separate concept that we will study in next chapter. So what is thread? Thread is so far process as a single thread. Means up to now, whatever the program you learn, whatever the programs you develop in Java or in C or C++, your process has a single thread. मतलब आपकी process एक ही thread बनता है आपकी process का और वो execute हो जाता है. For right now, you can assume that thread means it is a lightweight process. Thread is also a process. See, you once you have a one program, once you execute the program, it become process. Again, in process, if you want to make the speed up of the operation, or if you have a multiple processors, so you can also further divide your process into threads, and every thread can be executed simultaneously, can be executed parallelly in different processor. Okay, and because of that your execution become faster. So right now you can assume that thread is a lightweight process. What is different between thread and process, that we will study further next chapter में उसको देखेंगे. Okay, so one process may have multiple threads and each and every thread has its own PCB. थ्रेड का खुद का भी PCB होता है. Okay, so PCB also store the thread information. PCB also store the information about thread. So this is the process. This process has created how many threads? Suppose 5 threads. So status of the individual thread is also stored in PCB. Okay, so अभी इतना समझ लो, बाकी डिटेल में एक्सप्लेन देखेंगे नेक्स्ट चैप्टर में. So if you want to create your own process, then you can create the process by using structure. Programming point से करना है तो you can create a structure, and in structure you can create these many variables: PID, process ID, long status of state of the process, ready state, executing state, IO waiting state, whatever. Time slide, what is the time slide information for a process? Structure, task structure parent, who is the parent of this process, who is the, how many children of the process. One process can create multiple process. एक process दूसरी process को create कर सकती है. How many files are used by this process? So this is just a sample example. If you want to create a programming point of view, अगर आपको program बनाना है, so first of all you can create the structure of the process, and if you want to create, once the structure is created, and if you want to create the 5 processes, then you can create the object of the structure. उस structure के 5 object बना दो तो 5 process बन जाएगी, and each and every process has its own process ID.
सर ये तो लिनक्स का था ना, ये
नहीं, ये लिनक्स का नहीं है, आप सी का भी कर सकते हो. ये तो सी है, प्रोग्रामिंग इन सी है.
नहीं, ऊपर प्रोसेस में ने लिनक्स लिखा है टाइटल में ऊपर.
तो लिनक्स लिखा है, लेकिन विंडोज में भी कर सकते हो, जरूरी नहीं है. सी लैंग्वेज, आपके पास सी का कंपाइलर होना चाहिए.
अच्छा,
आप टर्बो सी में भी कर सकते हो. ओके, सो प्रोसेस शेड्यूलिंग. व्हाट इज मीनिंग ऑफ द शेड्यूलिंग? शेड्यूलिंग मींस the processor scheduler is a program which select among the available processes for the next execution of CPU. If you have a 5 processes are right now in under execution, 5 process है आपके पास. So scheduler is a program. It is a one type of program which is available in your operating system, and what it will do, it will select one of the process for execution. That is known as a process scheduler. It is also known as a CPU scheduler. उसको CPU scheduler भी बोलते हैं. It is also called as a short term scheduler. Please remember, ये तीनों का मतलब एक ही है. प्रोसेस शेड्यूलर, CPU scheduler एंड शॉर्ट टर्म शेड्यूलर, तीनों का मतलब एक ही है. ओके, सो व्हाट इज द गोल ऑफ दिस प्रोसेसर शेड्यूलर? इसका गोल क्या होना चाहिए? मैक्सिमाइज द CPU यूज. इट हैज टू मैक्सिमाइज द यूज ऑफ सीपीयू, आपका सीपीयू जितना हो सके उतना बिजी रहना चाहिए. सेकंड, quickly switch from one process to another process. Again, if you have a multiple cpu core, if you have a multiple cpu core, then every core have some work to do. चार प्रोसेसर है तो चारों प्रोसेसर बिजी रहने चाहिए, ऐसा नहीं एक प्रोसेसर काम करे बाकी के तीन बैठे रहे, ऐसा नहीं होगा. So these are the schedulers which are available in your operating system. You cannot change it, ये प्रोग्राम है, इनबिल्ट है, but they will do the operation, they will select the processes in a such a manner for execution so that the every cpu has some work to do. If you have a single processor, then definitely it has more work to do, क्योंकि एक प्रोसेस कंप्लीट नहीं करेगा दूसरी प्रोसेस आपकी आ जाएगी. So in this way, the short term scheduler or cpu scheduler will select the process for the execution. Again, you have to maintain the scheduling queues. आपको दो क्यू मेंटेन करनी पड़ेगी, रेडी क्यू एंड वेट क्यू. रेडी क्यू एंड वेट क्यू, इट इज अ क्यू. व्हाट इज द रेडी क्यू? Set of all processes residing in a memory, they are the in a ram, they are ready and wait for the execution. Means these are those processes, if there are 10 processes are there and you have a single cpu, so at a time cpu is executing one process. So what about the 9 processes? Out of 9 processes, you may have 5 processes are in a ready state, 2 processes are in a wait state, or it may be possible that 2 processes are in a terminated state or in a newly state, whatever. So ready queue will store the information about those processes which are ready for execution. उनका सब कुछ क्लियर है, डेडलॉक नहीं है, उनके पास जितने लॉक चाहिए वो सब अवेलेबल है, उनको सिर्फ सीपीयू का टाइम चाहिए. मीन्स दे आर एक्सपेक्टिंग फॉर सीपीयू फॉर एग्जीक्यूशन, कि उनका टर्न जब आएगा तो डायरेक्ट उनका एग्जीक्यूशन हो पाएगा. सो रेडी क्यू, अगेन इट इज अ वन टाइप ऑफ क्यू. ऐसी क्यू ही होती है आपकी, जैसे यहाँ पे एक्सप्लेन किया है. इट इज अ वन टाइप ऑफ क्यू. इट मे बी
सर
ऑल्सो वन टाइप ऑफ लिंक लिस्ट. ये लिंक लिस्ट जैसा लग रहा है आपको?